Tonight at 5, a closer look at the proposed Dane County budget and how leaders hope to close a $31 million shortfall.
The chief of police in Monona recounts a weekend pursuit and crash that left a Madison police officer seriously injured.
Plus, how a community in Michigan is gathering to remember the lives lost in an attack at a Mormon church last weekend. That's all ahead on News 3 Now at 5.
Thanks for staying with us at 5 tonight. Beloit police are investigating a homicide that left one person dead and another injured. Officers were sent to White Avenue for a report of a shooting early yesterday morning. That's where they found a 51-year-old man with a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital and later pronounced dead. Another man also showed up to the hospital with a gunshot wound from the same incident. Police say the shooting is an isolated incident and there is no threat to the public.
Now to continuing coverage of the crash that left a Madison police officer seriously injured.
The Monona police chief spoke to our Armand Rahman about the incident that went through Monona and what he hopes happens because of it. Armand?
That's right, Susan and Eric. The suspect behind the wheel of this very long chase behind me that happened Saturday afternoon, Christopher Brugger, eventually crashed into a Madison squad car, sending Officer Ryan Kimberly to the hospital. The video stopped short of that moment. Brugger is now facing multiple charges, but has yet to be formally charged.
It is a moving death machine if in the hands of the wrong person.
That's how Monona Police Chief Brian Cheney described the tow truck 36-year-old Christopher Brugger was allegedly driving recklessly Saturday afternoon. Monona police officers attempted to talk to Brugger at a gas station.
It's not clear to me at this point if the person was aware that the officer was even standing next to them, and then he took off, nearly striking people, nearly striking vehicles, endangering uninvolved persons in this community. We, at that point, have a duty to do something about it.
That something was a 4.5-mile chase, reaching speeds over 80 miles per hour, weaving through traffic, populated commercial areas, and more.
There was constant communications. They didn't travel into oncoming lanes of traffic. It looked like there was a lot of coordination.
Brian Landers is a former police lieutenant and law enforcement consultant.
There's going to be some people out there that say, why even chase? Law enforcement's in a very difficult situation. It's like damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Chase Saturday ended with Brugger allegedly hitting Madison police officer Ryan Kimberly and his canine Freddie.
We know this colleague, and so obviously we're human beings and there's a connection there, but we're also treating this like any other case we handled.
Brugger was in a similar chase in 2022, hitting and injuring an officer in Cheney's own department in Monona. Both Cheney and Landers say it hurts to see history repeat itself.
Yeah, if people want to be upset about this incident, they should probably be upset at the judges who don't put people behind bars for longer periods of time.
We almost lost a police officer in our community due to the reckless behavior of a repeat violent offender. And I appreciate the fact that questions are being asked and that there's probably, hopefully, going to be some more evaluation, certainly as it relates to this case, but hopefully in other cases moving forward.
And Kimberly remains in the hospital in stable condition. A GoFundMe for him can be found linked to our coverage on channel3000.com.
Armand, thank you. And now a look at the forecast. The days since our last rain keep stacking up and this fall heat wave rolls on, Alex.
It sure does. And with that, Susan, everyone's probably wondering, when are we going to get some raindrops? And I want to be first to show you that Sunday night through Monday, maybe even lasting into Tuesday morning, we have increased chances for rain with a cold front. I want to emphasize the word a cold front because that will help ease up the heat wave that we've been experiencing, or at least this prolonged period of warm temperatures, I should say. We're going to be very close to near 90 degrees Friday going into Saturday, and then there's that crash with that weather system. So we do have relief on the way to southern Wisconsin. We're going to track those rain showers in a little bit when I come back in a couple of moments. But right now, temperatures 84 right now, 1, 2, 3, Prairie du Chien, Boscobel, Lone Rock, 82 in Madison, 82 in the Dells. And as we plan the rest of our evening, it's going to be, again, a very warm evening across southern Wisconsin. You might want to save that walk with the dog maybe till 7 or so when things start to cool down and the sun starts to settle a little bit. Lows tonight, they're going to stay in the 60s. Normal lows this time of year, 45 degrees. When I come back, we're going to track that rain and see if it will impact your neighborhood coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Alex, thank you. Dane County now has a proposed budget. County officials are hoping the budget will tackle the $31 million deficit that Dane County is facing.
Our Tanasia Shaw is here to tell us what's included in the budget proposal. Tanasia?
Yes, Dane County exec Melissa Agar proposed a $903.5 million budget plan yesterday. If it's proposed as is, county employees will see an impact. The 2026 budget is roughly 4% less than last year's. The budget changes that you may notice is a hiring freeze for vacancies that are not essential and a 1% pay cut for county employees in 2026. This would save the county $2 million. Earlier today, I talked to County Board Supervisor Patrick Miles that says at least one department will have to have less resources going into next year.
But it is sort of like squeezing a balloon. We have to have a balanced budget in the end. So if we're looking at applying more resources in one area, we're going to have to reduce it elsewhere.
Miles also went on to say that everyone at the county has the same goal, and that's to take care of the county's most critical needs. Next, the Board of Supervisors will have a hearing on October 20th, and the budget is expected to be finalized sometime next month. I'll have more on what's included in next year's proposed budget tonight at 6.
All right, Tanasia, thank you. And now to the 2026 gubernatorial election, where this week Democrat Missy Hughes joined the growing race. The former state economic development director announced her candidacy on Monday, and in her announcement, Hughes promised to reject divisive politics. Hughes previously worked at a dairy co-op for 17 years as an executive. She oversaw hundreds of employees. She says her priorities are higher wages, improving public schools, childcare and housing. And on this week's upcoming edition of For the Record, the newest Democratic candidate sat down with host Ellie LaLiberte, who asked her about her position on the president's tariffs.
But what I'm worried about is the tariffs are adding such instability to our economy that we're going to see companies and businesses start to say, maybe I'm not going to hire as many people this year. Maybe I'm not going to make that investment. And that has ripple effects throughout the economy and really affects Wisconsinites.
That's in stark contrast, of course, with what we've heard from candidates on the other side of the aisle, like U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany, who is in favor of the president's tariffs.
Hughes joins an already crowded field of Democrats that include Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, State Senator Kelda Roys, Representative Francesca Hong, beer vendor Ryan Sternad, and former Wisconsin State Rep Brett Hulsey. Meanwhile, Congressman Tiffany is joined only by Washington County Executive Josh Schoeman on the Republican side so far.
Wisconsin one step closer to closing its last remaining youth prison facilities. That's according to an announcement today by Governor Tony Evers. Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake schools in Irma are now under full compliance with 50 reforms. After 2015, allegations of excessive use of force and child abuse led to court-ordered reform requirements. Now the governor says the goal is to move the young people housed at the facilities closer to their homes, close those prisons, and convert them to adult institutions. Still ahead at 5, Alex is back. A complete look at your First Warn forecast.
We'll hear from Jason Wilde at a very quiet Lambeau Field, how he explains this is the team's final weekend to rest for a long time.
Plus, some big changes are coming to the store brand foods you can buy at Walmart stores as the retail giant looks to promote some healthier options.
And during this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we'll tell you about a program that ensures every woman has access to potentially life-saving mammograms.
More steady gains on Wall Street. The Dow Jones gains almost 79 points. The Nasdaq adds about 89. S&P 500 ticks up a little more than 4. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Well, this is a bye week, and that means it's time to rest up for the Green Bay Packers.
That's right. Any playoff run is going to require a long stretch without any time off. Our Packers senior writer Jason Wilde has more from Green Bay.
It was the Packers' bye week, and all through Lambeau Field, not a creature was stirring except maybe some folks going on Packers stadium tours, going to the Hall of Fame, and maybe grabbing a bite to eat at the 1919 Kitchen and Tap. If you did go through a tour, check out my office because I'm not going to be there till Monday. The Packers are on their bye. The players scattered about the countryside on Monday. The coach is now getting a few days off as well. This is the earliest a team can have a bye in the NFL. The Packers, the Bears, the Falcons, and the Steelers are the teams that are on their bye week this week. And as Matt LaFleur told us on Tuesday, the last time we talked to the Packers coach, it's going to be a challenge going through the final 13 weeks of the season without a break. They do have a Thanksgiving game, which they will then have that mini bye after that. But this will be a challenging trip through the final 13 weeks of the regular season, pointing toward the playoffs and their hopes of being the Super Bowl contender that they believe themselves to be. Right now, they are a 2-1-1 football team with their next game set for October 12th against the struggling Cincinnati Bengals at Lambeau Field. You'll be able to see that game right here on Channel 3. Make sure you get ready for that and everything during the bye week. We've got stories every day there as well at channel3000.com for free. And while you're there, remember to sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already. That delivers our Packers coverage directly to your inbox every single day. In Green Bay, Jason Wilde, channel3000.com.
The Packers back on the field with a 3:25 kickoff Sunday, October 12th at Lambeau. Again, no Joe Burrow due to injury for the visiting Bengals.
Walmart is making some changes to its food. The largest retail grocer in the U.S. announced it's getting rid of synthetic dyes from its store brand foods. Officials say they also plan to remove 30 other ingredients, including preservatives and certain artificial sweeteners. Some of the products that will be affected are cheese dips, sports drinks, and cake frostings. Officials say they hope to keep the prices static during this transition. All of the ingredient changes are expected to be complete by January of 2027. Well, this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, public health officials in Dane County are highlighting a program that makes sure that every woman in Wisconsin has access to a mammogram. In the U.S., 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. In Dane County, about 425 women receive a diagnosis every year. The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force says most women should start getting a mammogram at age 40. And while health insurance covers the procedure for many women, some skip their screening because they can't afford it. That's where the Wisconsin Well Woman program comes in. It helps women with little or no health insurance get breast cancer screenings for free. If you're 40 or older, haven't gotten a mammogram, and you have little or no health insurance, reach out to the program and learn more about it. More information is available at dhs.wisconsin.gov.
Time now for a full look at our forecast. Another warm one in southern Wisconsin, even warmer weather on the way. Alex is talking about some potential record breakers.
Yep, got those records right behind me. Going for high 87 Friday, 88 on Saturday. The record for Friday is 85. The record for Saturday is 87. If this holds true, we're going to beat those records and going even further into the weekend. There's that 88 on Saturday. Very warm. Again, expecting record highs. Very warm on Sunday, 85. Breezy conditions as well. Could be looking at some showers and storms. That's going to end this prolonged period of warm temperatures. There's that 87 Friday, 88 Saturday, 85 on Sunday, and then crash. There we go. The temperatures fall down to fall-like readings by the time we get to Wednesday and especially Thursday of next week, where we may struggle to get to 60 degrees. With that transition, we've got some weather in the form of rain Sunday, Monday, going on into perhaps as late as Tuesday. So let's track those raindrops together. This is very late Sunday night. Some raindrops off towards the north, towards the west, towards Viroqua, up towards Camp Douglas, and then that front, cold front, slips to the south here. Grant County, Iowa County, up to Sauk, Columbia, Marquette, Green Lake, just north and west of Madison, around 8 o'clock on Monday morning, seeing some showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two, and then that front's just going to kind of hang out across the area as we go into Monday night and then into the early part of Tuesday with that continuation of a couple of showers, a couple of thunderstorms. Note that there are going to be some dry areas as well, so we all, I say this often, stand the chance of seeing rain, just not everybody's going to get rainfall with this front, or at least some areas will pick up a little bit more than others. And then that front settles to the south finally by the time we get into Tuesday. I shouldn't say finally because we need those raindrops. And the reason why, this is the latest drought monitor just as of today. Abnormally dry conditions, as I predicted last week, with the dry stretch of weather that we've had, now is moving up further into southern Wisconsin. We have dry conditions in Grant County, Iowa County, just south and west towards Verona. This would include the Darlington area. This would include Monroe over towards Janesville and Elkhorn. And if we're not going to get additional appreciable rains with that cold front, we're probably going to see that expand a little bit more and a little bit more. I do know the dry conditions are good for the farmers and getting the harvest in, but our soil and watershed could use a couple of raindrops. 60 to 61 for a low temperature tonight. Look above my head here. Our average low, 45 degrees. We're way above normal. And then highs tomorrow in the upper 80s. I'm not going to be shocked if we see a couple of 90s tomorrow and again on Friday. So that unprecedented warmth will continue. There are those records again. 87 on Friday and 80 it should be 85 on Friday, 87 on Saturday rather. Doesn't matter. I think we're going to shatter those records on both days. That cold front comes through Monday and Tuesday. Then fall-like readings. 60 for a high temperature next Thursday. Just for contrast, our low temperatures this weekend are going to be warmer than those high temperatures later next week. And the Badger game at the Big House here. That kickoff temperature 78 degrees. After the win, 84. So toasty stuff for anybody who's traveling over to Michigan for the game. And in Southwest Wisconsin, got to thank Jeff for sending us this photo here. Scan the QR code if you want to send us your photos here. But the harvest is ongoing in southern Wisconsin.
Good optimism on the Badgers, Alex. I like it. Well, despite the warm weather, people have really helped out. They know winter's coming, and take a look at this. We passed another milestone in our Coats for Kids collection. 171 more coats since our last count puts us over the 3,000 mark. Also, Clinky Cleaners in Monona has been receiving boxes of hand-knitted scarves and mittens from local knitters. If you don't have a coat but want to make a small financial donation, you can log on to channel3000.com/coats4kids. Click on the link to our financial donation page and follow the prompts there. If you or someone you know needs a warm coat to wear this winter, Friday, October 24th, that's the date to know, 4 to 6 p.m., all those winter coats that have been collected will be given away at 3 different locations: the Allied Family Center, the Erica and Anthony Fleming Boys and Girls Club, and the Mackenzie Family Boys and Girls Club as well.
Thanks, everybody. We couldn't do it without you. When we come back, a vigil at a Mormon church in Michigan. Congregation members grieve the loss of their neighbors following Sunday's mass shooting and arson attack north of Detroit.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
In the wake of last weekend's deadly church shooting, the Grand Blanc, Michigan community gathered to grieve, reflect, and stand together in solidarity.
Inside the United Methodist Church, neighbors filled the sanctuary with prayers, comfort, and shared determination to begin the long process of healing. Brett Cast reports.
Families and friends of those killed in the shooting at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints of Grand Blanc are in our prayer.
As nearly 200 people packed the pews of Grand Blanc United Methodist Church, they reflected, grieved, and prayed for their neighbors who witnessed tragedy in the pews of their own church just 3 days earlier.
We were finishing our service, and I was out greeting members as they were leaving the church, and someone came up and let me know what had happened.
Pastor Brian West says they quickly sprung into action, working with other nearby churches to plan this joint service.
Tonight was an incredible experience. It was emotional for me. I think it was emotional for just about everybody.
Everyone, including the church's members who came.
I don't know what good comes out of that tragedy, but for us, it's being able to do something like this tonight has been something that we're just called to do it.
Also in attendance, Peppa and the Mid-Michigan Therapy Dogs.
They took a lot of comfort in petting the dogs and hugging the dogs.
Pam Bennett says the group has been in Grand Blanc all week, visiting churches and local elementary schools.
Some of the kids were saying they didn't feel safe, and we were there to reassure them that they are safe.
Meanwhile, Jamie Ayers and her dog Wiley are with Common Ground, a nonprofit providing mental health crisis services. They were called in by local officials to help at the Family Assistance Center.
It's been pretty steady with traffic, and the nice thing is we have a lot of resources so people can come and take something. So if they don't need something right now, they can take the resources, and at another time, at least they'll have them.
As a long healing journey begins, Pastor Brian is asking for prayers, support, and for solutions.
Prayer is remarkably important, but we also know that prayer by itself without action is empty. And God calls us in our prayers to then respond and to act and to reach out in care and concern to our community, but also to advocate to make sure that we can no longer have to have these kinds of services where we're responding to mass violence like this.
Alex has a final check of the weather when we come back.
You may have seen the video of homes on North Carolina's Outer Banks washing away during storms. We'll tell you why the problem is only getting worse.
And artificial intelligence is delivering real results in the classroom. Our Eye on America heads to Austin, Texas for a glimpse into education's high-tech future. That's tonight on the CBS Evening News.
And then coming up tonight at 6, Dane County is dealing with a budget shortfall of more than $30 million. We'll talk with county leaders about their proposed budget to fix that issue and continue some investments. Again, we'll have that story at the top of the hour.
Well, the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating a collision between two Delta Airlines jets. This happened last night at New York's LaGuardia Airport. A plane with 32 people on board was preparing for takeoff when its wing made contact with an arriving Delta plane that had 61 people on it. The collision injured a flight attendant, damaged a cockpit, and actually tore off part of a wing. It also left dozens of people stranded in New York. It is not clear which plane was at fault, but the FAA says air traffic control had instructed the departing plane to hold short and yield to that arriving plane.
Finally, tonight at 5, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the rest of the Peanuts characters, this is hard to believe, turned 75 today. Charles Schulz's Peanuts comic strip began October 2nd, 1950. For 50 years, the Twin Cities native wrote and drew every comic strip. The Peanuts characters went from appearing in just 7 newspapers in 1950 to now being featured in online syndication and a new streaming series on Apple TV and books and much more.
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago, but he is remembered, and the Peanuts gang lives on forever.
Yes.
Alex is back with a final check of the forecast, and we are talking some record breakers the next couple of days.
Yeah, we're talking some records. Look at these records for Friday. 87 is our high temperature. 85 is the record, and on Saturday, that record is 87. We're going for 88, so I think we're going to break both those records. Can you believe that? Near 90 degrees, and we're in that first week of October, and you think of peanuts and you think of the great pumpkin. You're not really thinking of pumpkin patches right now, but nonetheless, tonight we'll have lows in the 60s, normal lows 45, normal highs 66. We're going to be 20 degrees above normal as we go into Friday. And let's take a look at that 10-day forecast here. Some rain finally Monday going on into Tuesday. At 6, we'll track those rain showers, let you know who's going to get wet Monday going into Tuesday, and if this warm weather is going to stick around further into October.
All right, Alex, thanks for joining us. Coming up next, the CBS Evening News. We're back in 30 minutes for News 3 Now at 6.
You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000 Plus. Have a good evening, everyone.